Welcome. We're going to talk about something that is, let's be honest, a massive challenge for pretty much every company out there. How do we build an AI security training program that actually works? How do we get away from just guessing what people need to know and start building something on real, solid evidence? All right, let's get into it.
And just so we're all on the same page here, everything we're about to cover in this explainer comes straight from Chapter 7 of the tutorial, AI Security Training Needs Assessment Framework. We're digging right into the source to really understand their method.
So let's just kick things off with a big question for you. Think about your own company's training. Is it built on a rock-solid foundation of evidence, or is it maybe just based on a few assumptions? A hunch about what people might be doing wrong? Because the answer to that question changes everything.
And that really gets to the heart of our mission. Because the quality of any training program, doesn't matter if it's for AI security or anything else, is completely dependent on the quality of the data it's built on. It's simple, right? You can't fix a problem you don't actually understand.
And make no mistake, the stakes here are incredibly high. If you go out and gather data that's just superficial or worse, biased, you're not just going to waste time and money on a training program that totally misses the mark. No, it's worse than that. You're actually leaving your organization wide open and vulnerable. Getting the data right isn't just about being efficient, it is a core security function.
So what's the fix? Well, it's definitely not about just randomly asking a few people what they think. As the source material puts it so well, effective data collection needs careful, systematic planning. You have to be deliberate about it, making sure you get the full picture by covering all the relevant people, all the different job roles, and all the departments.
Which brings us to the fun part. I want you to think of yourself as an investigator for a minute. Your case? What training do we actually need? And to solve that case, you have to gather clues. And to do that, well, you need the right set of tools in your investigator's toolkit.
And here they are. These are the 4 key methods for gathering those all-important clues. You've got surveys, interviews, good old-fashioned observation, and document review. Now, look, you can use any of these on their own, but where they become really powerful is when you start combining them. That's how you get a complete 360-degree view of what's really going on.
All right, let's break these down, starting with surveys. These are fantastic for getting a ton of quantitative data from a lot of people fast. But you have to do them right. First, you need clear objectives. Every single question has to have a purpose. Mix up your question types to get different kinds of answers. And please write clearly, no jargon, no leading questions. Oh, and keep it short. 10 to 15 minutes is the sweet spot. Anything longer and people just check out. But the most important step here, pilot test it. Seriously, send it to a small group first. You'll be amazed at the problems they find before you send it to the whole company.
Okay, next up, interviews. So if surveys give you the big picture what, interviews are where you uncover the rich qualitative why. And the process really splits into 2 phases. You've got the planning phase, which is all about prep, building your guide, choosing a really diverse group of people to talk to, and doing your homework on them. Then when you're actually in the interview, it all shifts to execution. That's about building rapport, really listening, and probing for those specific juicy details, all while staying totally neutral.
Now this is one of my favorite points from the source material. Observation is your secret weapon. Why? Because it just cuts through all the noise. People will often tell you what they think you want to hear, or maybe they just describe the perfect, ideal way they do their job. Observation shows you what they actually do. It reveals the real-world shortcuts, the workarounds, and the true security behaviors.
And finally, we've got the document review. This is where you find the hard evidence, the cold, hard facts. You're looking at existing policies, old training records, security incident reports, even system logs. This gives you objective data that isn't based on anybody's opinion. This is where you might find the unfiltered truth, like what AI tools people are really using, not just the ones they're willing to admit to.
Okay, so you've used your toolkit. You've got your survey results, your interview notes, your observations, all your documents. You have a mountain of clues, but right now it's just a big pile of raw data. Now comes the critical part, analyzing all that evidence and connecting the dots to see the full story.
And the source material lays out a super clear 5-step process for this. First, you clean the data, get rid of any errors, make sure it's all consistent. Then comes descriptive analysis, where you look for the big overall patterns. After that, you dig deeper with comparative analysis. How is the marketing team's behavior different from the engineering team's? This is what helps you identify the key patterns and correlations. And finally, you synthesize it all, you pull everything together into clear, actionable conclusions that will become the foundation for your training program.
And all of that hard work brings us here, to the verdict. Because this whole process, it's not just some academic exercise. The entire point of this investigation is to drive smart, effective action that is actually going to protect your organization. So this is the bottom line. This is the big takeaway. When you follow a systematic, evidence-based approach like this, you completely transform training. It stops being just another checkbox on a compliance list, a simple cost to be minimized. It becomes what it always should have been, a strategic investment in your organization's security. This is how you get real results.
And so we'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you've seen the framework, now that you know how to move from pure guesswork to solid evidence, the power really shifts to you. So, what questions are you going to ask? What proof are you going to demand? What will you expect from your organization's next security training program?